But that's part of the job, even the first part of it is.
Right, I'm. Let's call it that. Okay, good evening, everyone. It's 5:30. More or less on, what is it? It's December 10th, 2025. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, additions and deletions.
Board chairs?
Yeah, I think Amy's gonna.
Okay.
Oh,
Should we wait for Amy?
sure. Probably wise, because we do have the deletions.
So the only thing that I have is that we had put a placeholder in case we need an executive session, which we do not need, so we can. I would say remove the executive session from the agenda.
Great.
Actually, I don't see it here. Is it?
Yes,
Ooh,
it is.
It's way up there. Okay. I move we approve the agenda as amended.
I second. Oh, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Great. Any other deletions or additions?
Not now.
Not now, that's right. All right, community comments, do we have any community comments? I don't think so. Somebody would have said something by now.
Presenter.
Excellent. So I'm excited to see all these people. This is great.
And nobody angry.
Yeah, and nobody angry. So we have guest presenters tonight. Soul presentation.
That's us.
Would you like to present?
Yep.
Brooke, wonderful.
Well, my name is Brooke Jackson. I'm the middle school counselor. I'm along on my rockstar soul representatives.
Oh, hi, I'm Riley Ann Saunders, and this is Kira Newton.
Okay. So we're here to share with you about a middle school program called SOUL. It stands for
Sisters Outdoor Leadership Experiences.
Yes. So, yeah, we're going to give you kind of an overview, and there's a 3 to 4 main components of the mission of SOUL. First one is
To get students outside.
get them outside. Get them outside under the stars or at a campfire. Get them some epic views. You know what it is?
Unplugged with no phones, which is one of the main rules.
No phones. They stay in my office before we even move the building.
And SOUL is also for creating deeper relationships between peers and staff throughout shared challenging experiences. And it's helped me make a lot of friendships and even their traits, like this trip. And I got closer with Claire, Indiana, and Kira.
This is our trip last spring.
Yeah.
And part of the mission is it's like to get students and staff. So this was Kelsey Jekyll, the counselor who was here for a couple of years while I was gone. There's Miss Young and Mrs. Henry. I mean, like a lot of teachers have gone on these trips, so it's kind of like creating relationships outside of the walls. And then one of my ultimate goals is, we want the kids to graduate, right? Graduation. And part of that, my background is in wilderness therapy. I was a guide for a number of years. And so I've seen the connection between just getting outside and just like struggling in the woods when experiencing physical adversity and seeing like the growth that can occur when kids kind of like experience that. And so tying that, so like just being able to experience frustration and learn how to do that. It's just a transferable skill is what we like to call it. Okay, so what we do, like.
That's a great picture.
In a nutshell, like, we plan to do 2 to 3 multi-day weekend trips per year, one in the fall, one in the spring, sometimes 2 in the spring. And then 2 to 3 day trips kind of in the winter months. For the weekend trips, we usually go to Jack Lake, usually the weather permits. Kind of the Three Finger Jack area in the fall, and then the spring trip is Mill Creek past Prineville. I've done stuff on the Cascade Lakes Highway. Let's see, yeah, I like to keep it kind of local, but sometimes it's nice to just get out of systems, but. I mean, there's just so much beauty around here. And then the 2 to 3 day trips. And we've gone to Mount Bachelor to do the ranger-led snowshoe tour. We do Smith Rock as kind of the favorite in cross-country skiing. And cross-country skiing, I'm telling you, there's a lot of bang for your buck. Like, if you fall down, you gotta get up. And there's a lot of falling for cross-country skiing, especially if you just learn it. It's like baby deers. And so it's really, I remember a number of years ago, someone who just graduated and is gonna be an amazing nurse. She was just on the ground in the snow, like we had just turned and we're headed back and we had a long way to go. And she, what do I do? Like, what do you want me to do? So it's like literally, of course, I'm there to help, and the staff is always going to help, but it's like you gotta get up and you already have to get to the ski. That's. And then this is,
The Seoul students meet 4 to 6 times like before a trip. They practice the skills cooking, tent setup, how to pack your backpack, gear checks, and go over the itinerary and weather. And then LNT, which is leave no trace, which means to leave it better than before.
this is Mill Creek. Yes, it is snowing out. Pretty typical, would you guys say? Yeah. Okay, so this is when I reached out to Tim and I was like, hey, we're gonna share about Soul. And so he sent me a quote. So over the past 10 years, yeah, I guess 2015 spring was the first trip. So Soul's become a foundational part of how we serve students, especially middle school and those kids who may not otherwise have these opportunities. I personally remember talking with an 8th grade student on a trip, probably the surf trip last spring. We never left Central Oregon. We had never been on the Oregon coast before. They were so thankful someone wouldn't take them. So I was an all-star student or a club athlete. He was all over the state, but middle school, trying to find a place in the world. The soul trips were meaningful for them. Soul also provides a safe, supportive environment for students to step outside of their comfort zone, builds confidence, they discover they can do hard things, and creates bonds that last a lifetime. And then he had to throw this in there, which is actually a quote from Drake. So I think it's a source that will change your life. If you don't know Tim, he's a source. And the goal is to really impact about 20-25 students per year between the 2 to 3 weekend trips and the day trips. Obviously, if we're taking a group in the backcountry, the maximum size is 12. That's including staff. So 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 students at the most per weekend trip. Mr. Hossein was there. 1 year. 1 year. He joined us in Mill Creek for a night to get to know some of those 8th graders. And then the day trips, obviously you can take more. I usually try to take 10-ish, maybe 20. Depending on how many volunteers I have with me. And just so you know, as a school counselor, I have my own standards that I need to try to work towards. So the ASCA standards, American School Counseling Association standards, that I've sort of identified that I think match what I try to do with these students. Help them acquire knowledge, attitudes, and interpersonal skills so they can understand and respect self, others, develop positive attitudes for themselves, understand the consequences of decisions and choices. Yeah, it's great. The wilderness kind of like does the work for you when you get outside. Funding sources, it does take some money to get food and some gear. there's been a lot of generous support from the Roundhouse and the Sister City Council. I write like a grant every year and I do my best to budget and stuff like that. So a couple of quotes from students who wanted to be here but are in high school now and have very, very busy lives.
This is a quote from a freshman at the high school. Something I would say is how much Soul has shown me personally the hard things I can accomplish and the experience that comes with that. Everyone who goes on a soul trip, their mindset changes, whether that's small, like being encouraging when everyone is tired, or big, like jumping in and being the leader.
So another big part of Soul is it's not like a class, but students who are in high school, I really try to get them down to be the interns, basically, mentors. I usually have a couple of high schoolers per trip. And then this younger wanted to offer something as well.
This is a quote from Mrs. Young, a Sisters Middle School teacher. Soul is one of my favorite programs because it encourages students to step out of the familiar as they forge lasting relationships built on trust and shared experiences. It provides opportunity for peer mentoring, learning outdoor skills, and thoughtful reflection in our beautiful home state. Soul is unique in that middle schoolers and high schoolers students participate together, many coming full circle to share what they've learned.
And that's Sierra on the right, and she's a senior, and she started doing soul trips when she was 7th grade, right? And this is her quote. I'll just let you guys read this one.
That's great.
So lastly, before we take questions, I couldn't not put that one in. So this is what a typical soul trip looks like on the way home. And then board members are always invited. This is Mr. Jay Wilkins. He came on a day trip to do his best milky face impression. Years ago. Well, with that, we don't want to take up everyone's, we want more programs to go, so does anyone have any
Yeah.
questions?
How are the students identified to participate?
Great question. I don't have a real hard and fast process. It's really organic how it happens. I sort of get to know students or get to know me, or students know the program and they will approach me and say, hey, should actually doing soul trips, or sometimes like new students who it seems like they could use a little extra just support or love, like Riley Ann was last year. Or students who, just one way or another, they kind of find their way towards soul. Like we were setting up tents, and a new student this year saw what we were doing and just walked out of his class. And it was like, what do you guys do? Go. And that's so it kind of just it attracts students, but I also will check in with teachers, or if I talk to parents, I just kind of keep my ears open, and then I'll try to build a relationship with a student who I think would really benefit and love an experience like this. And then, going out in the woods, there's supposed to be a certain amount of trust, respect. So I have to get to know students, so it can't just be like a blind referral, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I get that question all the time. How do I get in here? I don't know. Don't bug me. Or like come to our meetings. Like they described, we have a lot of meetings, and if you miss the meetings, then you're missing valuable parts. You don't want to set it head up. And it's going to take a lot of extra support when we get out there, and it could be raining, and I might need to start a fire, and I might be needing to put up the group tarp, and so it's kind of I would just say it's organic and kind of natural and free flowing.
And
You girls realize how lucky you are to be in the school system, to have teachers like this that create these kind of opportunities that you wouldn't get anyplace else on earth.
It's amazing that you guys are able to have this opportunity.
You know,
I think it's cool that they were both like excited and all like, they're like, sure, we'll come and present with you. I think even this in itself is a huge opportunity to learn and grow, just in here, and
Did you go on multiple trips? Have you go on multiple trips or?
So, there were two last year, the one in the fall, which was at Mill Creek, and then the one in the spring, which was at the, coast. And then this year we have one in fall, too.
What was your favorite?
Probably the surfing trip.
Uh,
I'm gonna go to the surfing trip. I only went to the Mill Creek one and the Rose Street one.
Very nice. What was your favorite?
Probably the most recent one. I feel like it was really fun because I actually was like, I became friends on the trip with like some new people I haven't talked with before, and it was really fun. Expecting to actually enjoy being around them that much.
That's great.
yeah, the trip in the spring, the Milk trip, it was the first and only so far all girls trip. I was just along for the ride. It was pretty cool. I mean, there's been plenty of like all boys trips, and then usually at least a few females, and then but they just they're charging it. That was great.
Wonderful. Anyone else have questions?
Thank you, guys.
yeah.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Okay, a TCCA presentation.
She wrestles for.
Oh, nice.
One, my name is Heidi Dixon. I teach biology at the high school along with Rena McGibbet who's back there. And I just kind of want to echo what was in that last presentation, that it's not hard to find a student in our school district that leans into challenge. And I think that that's a testament to some of the opportunities that we've provided to them to learn in real life applications and get out and experience this place. And the Trout Creek Conservation Area is another space that we have as an asset to us in this district that just provides those opportunities to our students. And so Rima and I took about 90 students out to the Trout Creek Conservation Area this fall to study 19 different permanent plots. We now have about 15 years of data out there that Rima has been doing, and I've gotten to hop on board. And so this year, these 5 students took the opportunity to dive into that data set and try to find some interesting information that might be relevant to you guys around managing the TCCA for fire resiliency, and also just an increased use by our community and what we're seeing on the ground, what the impacts of that is. I'm going to hand it over to Annabelle and let her take it off.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Hello, everybody. My name is Annabelle. I'm a freshman and I go to System High School. I'm here tonight because I believe it's extremely important that we are involved with issues that affect our community. Tonight, we are going to talk about issues that I think is critical for both the present systems community and generations of us. I think that is the risk of catastrophic wildfire and damage to ecosystems from human neglect recreating. We are truly grateful to be here today to share the information we learned in biology about wildfires and ecosystems in this very important.
If I were, you might just push this. You see, it's had an issue there.
Thank you. Before we get fully into it though, I want to introduce everyone. So like I said, my name is Annabelle Molesworth, Kendra Rose, Cameron Gray, Georgia Huffle, and Sage List. And we had such amazing support from Heidi Dixon, our biology teacher, and Simone Ellis, who provided the birthing things that you will see related to presentation. So as a member of our town that actively cares about the success of our community, I want to share one of the greatest issues facing sisters, which is catastrophic wildfires and how do we address those fire risks and how to address human abuse. Some of you may not know what I mean by using the term catastrophic in this context, but what I mean by that is trying to distinguish healthy wildfires that are necessary for our ecosystems from mega wildfires, or the unhealthy ecosystem of change. We are thinking about the long-term future, not just stopping fires in the next several years, but carrying it over to future generations. Based on science and data, we are learning that a long-term fire risk reduction plan means combining effective practices to both decrease catastrophic fires and increase healthy ecosystem. Healthy ecosystem is the best multi-generational defense to unnatural negatives.
Thanks. All right. So let's face it, to talk about Sisters' future, we need to talk about fire. To talk about any future in Central Oregon, we need to talk about fire. So our student group has decided that to talk to you about the future of TCCA, it's necessary that we talk to you about fire and ecosystems. So here's a video from one of my trail cameras of the local flat fire that happened just this summer. And you can see these are ponderosa pines, which are a normally fire-resistant tree, exploding in flames as the wind-driven wildfire went through this unhealthy invasive cheatgrass infested habitat. You can go to the next slide. So what you saw in that video does not have to be the case with the TCCA. But that's only if the wildfire mitigation plan helps accommodate for wildfire reduction and a healthy ecosystem. So to kindle hope for the TCCA and not have a repeat of what happened in the flat fire, I wanted to present some hopeful data and experiences from our local community. So I don't know if any of you guys know Native Bird Care out near Sisters. It's a bird rehab place. I was able to interview the owners on how they mitigated fire on their property. So they said that they spent the last 10 years working with a professional firefighter and other professionals to mitigate fire risk on their acreage. However, they're also an Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife Habitat Conservation property, which means that they have to mitigate fire while also keeping the habitat for wildlife that live there and migrate through. So they believed that doing this could possibly reduce the catastrophic fires that while maintaining the beneficial healthy ecosystems. So as part of their mitigation work, they carefully treated the land with strategically placed fire breaks and open meadows of healthy native shrubs and grasses. They removed the weeds and selectively hand-thinned specific trees. And they kept all sage and bitter brush while removing dead shrubs. All right, next slide, please. All right, so the flat fire roared out of White Juice Creek as a 30-foot inferno moving high and fast. Firefighters told the owners that when it reached their property, it was the worst kind of fire, a catastrophic inferno. However, when it reached the 40-acre parcel of Native Bird Care, it dropped to the ground, becoming a high-intensity ground fire. As it moved across the property, it hit more fire treatments that the owners had put in place and dropped to a low-intensity ground fire. And by the time it reached the home on the property, firefighters were able to completely stop the fire, which also made it safe and have it not reach the homes which lay behind the property. Next slide, please. So the area did burn, but according to professionals, there was no way that any treatment could have fully stopped the fire that came down White Juice Creek. However, what they did do was bring it to a stop before it could reach any other neighborhoods of our community behind it. And it burned in a natural, healthy way that fires should in a mixed ponderosa and juniper ecosystem, which set the stage for the habitat to then recover after the blaze. Now, the native bird care property is not the same as the TCCA. It's a different environment, but this shows that with the correct management, you can effectively still mitigate and reduce fire while keeping habitat for wildlife and keeping the local ecosystems intact. And I do want to note that the owners of Native Bird Care said that they would be willing to coach a student advisory team on how they mitigated their property.
Thank you, Andrew. So we have two recommendations for you guys. I'm going to explain the first one and we will provide you with support for our request. So our first request is your support for a student advisory committee that will first learn about fire prevention and then collaborate with the TCCA fire prevention planners, so there's student involvement in the TCCA catastrophic wildfire reduction process. This may sound hard to achieve, but we've already identified at least 6 community members that would be willing to participate. Many have already confirmed. I believe that it would be an amazing learning opportunity for people my age to be able to get together and get prepared to share this idea with the world in whatever field they choose to explore in the future.
I consider conservation and planning have reduced the fire risk. A healthy ecosystem helps create a long-term fire risk reduction. Currently, the TCCA has multiple species of concern that are essential for a healthy ecosystem. And the TCCA has characteristics that make it a healthy ecosystem, such as its high biodiversity of many different plants and animals.
So I'm not going to talk about some of the key species in the TCCA. They're important to conserve for many reasons. But one key reason is that they're an essential part for long-term fire resistance. There's so many species in the TCCA that we cannot cover them all today. But we would like to highlight a few. So starting with the woodpeckers in the TCCA, we have a number of woodpecker species. Several of them are on Oregon's 2025 species of concern list. But of course, it's not just animals. There's also plenty of plants that are in danger, such as Penstemon, which it thrives in a natural environment, like with things like fires and floods, but could be eradicated by human activity, like heavy equipment. So we support finding a risk reduction plan that restores the natural fire regime that we learned about in biology class. A natural fire regime allows for conservation goals, which also reduce catastrophic fire risk in the long term. We believe there can be an effective risk reduction that enhances and does not harm TCCA species and habitats. So plants like Penstemon and woodpeckers can benefit from fire activity if it mimics natural historical fires. So focusing on the white-headed woodpecker, it's a great example of a bird living in the TCCA, with benefits like long-term fire reduction, healthy ecosystems. So they help to keep the forest healthy with year-round insect consumption. There's a statistic from Stanford University that for every one woodpecker, they eat 670,000 bugs per year. And then this is a male woodpecker, and then these two are females. They were both spotted in the TCCA or on the school ground. Another species that we'd like to focus on is Pennsylvania jays, which I know that a lot of jays here are annoying. But these are not those. If you notice the bands on their ankles, it's there's a study trying to figure out how slow decline of the species is. Some have estimated that they lost over 80% of their population. So they're actively trying to keep track of them with advanced younger animals. And just like the woodpeckers and every other bird species in the TCCA, they help to keep the population under control. And it's not just those. There's so many species that we just cannot talk about today, such as the nuthatches. So like while we are focusing on 2 species of concern tonight, we don't want to imply that other species are less important. So just like these birds that I mentioned, and like owls and stuff like that, they all help to keep bug population under control and create a healthy ecosystem.
Okay, that's me again. All right, so healthy ecosystems need carnivores. And if you can play the video, here's a video of a bobcat entering the TCCA from another one of my trail cameras. Just earlier this week, you can see it was on 12/8. So in the absence of other apex predators, bobcats can step into that role and can become excellent rodent controllers. And so by controlling the populations of rodents, which when they get overpopulated, they can begin to damage plant and vegetation. The bobcats are helping contribute to healthy plant populations, therefore contributing to a healthier ecosystem and a more fire resilient.
So an essential piece of our habitat for these birds are our snags and downwoods. And as you can see, with my graph, the TCCA has about 1.3 cubic meters per acre of snags and downwoods, while the recommended amount is about 2.6, which isn't very good for the birds, such as like the white-headed woodpeckers, because in the winter they burrow in these snags to survive because they're so like small and they just need all that heat. Yeah. Well, while it may not seem while it may not make sense to have more downwood in snags when trying to reduce this fire, it is vital for the many kinds of bird species to live. These species are very important for keeping their ecosystem healthy, ultimately leading to less fire with healthier ecosystem, and which means we should have to keep these snags and downwood and not turn.
We talked about undestroying our dry plants, and the largest small plant in the TCCA with the most covering is bitterbrush, which has been increasing its percent cover over the years. And bitterbrush is an essential food source for deer and an essential shelter source for our local reptile populations, such as the western sagebrush lizard. And the bitterbrush has been increasing in height quite a lot. And this could bring risk of it spreading in trees. So bitterbrush may be capable, we may be able to remove some bitterbrush to prevent that. But if we are able, play the video. Instead of removing bitterbrush, we could allow deer like this one an easier method of entering the TCCA, because deer are a central herbivore, and they will bring down the height of bitterbrush, preventing it from burning trees. Next one. This video is of I think the same deer entering through that.
Into the TCCA.
Officially, that's not.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, where is that fence? And
It's on it's the Reed property fence, so
Gotcha.
they're pasture.
Yeah.
They're coming through their pasture.
That is impressive.
Sadly not able to make it back out.
Through that place, but
Through that place. Want to try and create ideas. Have a healthy ecosystem. Maybe have to stop current use by humans. This includes people with their off-leash dogs, with them just running around, stepping on everything, and also them carrying cheatgrass, like, you know how it's extremely flammable. And humans also just leave their garbage everywhere, all over the TCCA. There's like, and also vehicles on trails, which is not allowed, but it's become, there's been vehicles on trails. And like, the vehicles, the people, and also the dogs, they like track in cheatgrass on their shoes, in their feet, and it spreads it everywhere, which makes it grow, and it's really flammable. So, our recommendation number 2 is to increase public communication of dog abuse policies, vehicle prevention, and leaving no trace, including not spreading invasive weeds. Through increased signage and vehicle barriers at access. So, again, the off-leash dogs, they disrupt root system plants, with them running off the trails, them chasing after wildlife too, and that them doing that also forms non-established trails, and it spreads cheatgrass, which again is illegal, but it can get in their paws and their ears, which is also harmful to the dog, until if it gets like really bad, like an infection or something, it costs a lot of money. There's also a lot of potential for negative dog-human or dog-dog interactions. And there's just dog feces everywhere when you're walking on the trails, like outside. When we were doing the clock thing, you would see it just there. And they also dig in holes or little burrows that the other burrowing animals dig into, probably chasing after them. And these are all photos from Plot 6A. There's a bunch more, but you can see like there's a dog just running off the trail. They're just like, and like 81%, so over 80% of all the dogs that were spotted on the trail cams were off leash.
All right. As mentioned in the overview, there was a lot of trash noted during our study. All of these photos are just from one tiny section off of the main trail, so this isn't even where most of the people are. And this trash includes things like twine, which birds can carry into their nests. It can get tangled into their offspring and in the end actually kill them. And then other flammable trash was also noted. Seeing all of this sets a tone of disrespect and disregard for wild and natural areas around Sisters. And it makes the whole TCCA feel less special and less wild for anyone going there. You're walking around and seeing all this trash.
Just like Georgia mentioned earlier, vehicles are not permitted in the TCCA for obvious reasons. But during our trial study, we did spot one on a trail camera. So this obviously has immediate damage to the flora and fauna. And it also sets precedents for other vehicles coming on into the TCCA, which we don't want to happen, because it disturbs the wildlife. And the number one cause for wildfires are vehicles. It also compacts the soil, which can prevent plants from growing in these areas in the future. Kind of brought up earlier, by Georgia, was the weeds. So cheatgrass is kind of one of the main invasive weeds that we have out in the TCCA. And it carries around fire, and is more flammable than juniper. It is, as I said, highly invasive. Everywhere you looked was just cheatgrass. And it outcompetes the native species in the I guess in the disturbed areas like the heavy equipment and the use of high severity fires.
Okay. Now, Ms. Marie, you heard from Annabelle, Sadie, and Ander about how we could take action to reduce fire while keeping a healthy ecosystem. You heard from me how bitter brush is reducible if we do it in a smart way. And you heard from all of us how human impact is damaging the TCCA. So our two recommendations and requests are to create a small committee of students who are to learn about and then be involved in plans to reduce fire risk, increase the number of signs communicating the need for dogs on leash and methods of preventing vehicles from entering the TCCA, and also signs promoting leave no trace.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Anyone have questions? Do you want to ask questions?
In your discussions, have you found what is the most effective way to get rid of cheap gas?
Just not letting it spread. Just like we talked about, all the methods of spread, like it was for all of people's shoes, and we can cut down on.
So you've been working with, so PCCA are owned by us, but managed by Deschutes Land Trust. They actually only could have a conservancy on it. And so we've been working with Peter Cooper, who's their conservancy agent. And that's one of our biggest questions in the walk is cheatgrass. And it is an interesting animal because once it gets told you can remove it, but even that tends to come back because of the open ground. And there's some treatments that you can put on there, very cost prohibitive, that are like little beads you put down that just focus on not letting cheatgrass flourish and allows others to. So it's been one of the conversations that we've had because the work that you do is you don't want to. I think the thing I heard was cheatgrass burns 11 times hotter than needle cast. So it's a problem as far as looking at how we process the system. And yes, Peter intends to be involved with some of our students as we think this is a hands-on learning opportunity that work collectively in the TCCA. So the district, in cooperation with the land trust, has put in for a grant to help do some work to mitigate fire risk. So once we find out, which will be probably later this month, if we get that, then we'll be engaging with our staff to move forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for?
I just want to thank all of you again. This was a great presentation. As a neighbor of the area, it's really nice to see some of the data you're collecting and see how it's progressed over time. Seeing the measurable impacts and also hearing your recommendations and your interest in being involved. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's good for an old guy to see some old friends. These girls wrestle for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
We have one more presentation with Joe. Ignite group.
Night one.
Ignite one.
Are you give a presentation? Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna introduce Analia and Hodge and introduce what Ignite is. Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. And tonight's theme is experiential learning. And it's generally guided by teachers. This Ignite is a little bit different. It's flipped. And the concept is simple. The details are very, very difficult. So the concept is that we always have internships. We have independent studies, but the idea is that those are one alone. The idea now is to bring in an interdisciplinary where it's multiple subjects. And so we're piloting this. Is a different concept and it changes the role of the teachers to more of a guide. And so we're just gonna leave it open. And if you have some questions for me afterwards, we leaving it open. We just asked her to be open and frank because we know pilot, she's our first one to try this with. And it was bumpy. And so that's what it's gonna be for a while.
So I'm Onalia, if you don't know me, and last term I got the opportunity to be the guinea pig for this program. Which was really fun. And so it took place during my third period, and yeah, I'm gonna tell you more about that. Okay, so what I hope to get out of this was deferment credit because I personally don't like sitting in class. Nothing to do with the teacher. I love her so much, but I've just never been someone who can learn just by sitting and just retaining knowledge long enough to learn it. So for me, this was an opportunity to learn how to class in a way that suited me more. And one of my favorite things to do is just make connections with people. Be able to know you on a personal basis, because that's how I learn, and that's how I love to interact with the world. And the last thing I wanted to do through this was become more involved in our community because we have such this opportunity of such a small community that we can become so invested in. But I feel like a lot of the times kids aren't presented with ways to get invested in. So that's one of the opportunities that's over. So the first place I started my internship, each place was about 2 weeks, and I actually started right here in this building. So I started the first few days of doing this piano bed, and I just followed her. I shadowed her. I just saw what she did. I took notes. And if you don't know, this woman does so much for us, for our school, for our community. She wears so many hats, and I cannot thank enough for how much. And she's the one who actually presented me with this opportunity, which I'm also so grateful. So much. But actually, I got to follow a lot of people in this room, and I just got to see all the support we get, because a lot of the stuff we do, these people are like behind the scenes doing stuff for us in our schools that none of us kids could have ever imagined how much you guys do for us. And for me, that was so cool seeing how much support we have that we don't get to see every day. Thank you guys so much for that. And so the next place I got to go after this, so 2 weeks later, I was right across the street in City Hall, which was so fun. If you have a chance, like, just go talk to them. They're lovely people. They'd love to talk to you. But I got to shadow the City Hall manager. I got to do a city tour with Public Works, which was so much fun. And I got to see how our community runs and how our little government works. And that was just so cool to me because, again, there was so many people behind the scenes. We have 6 public service workers. And they basically run this city, all the construction, water, sewage, parks, transport. 6 people do that in our little town. And to me, that's just so amazing. And they do it with such a grateful heart and just seeing what more they can do. So that was one of my favorite things to see. And then next, I went to Citizens for Community. And if you know Kellen, you know what an amazing person he is. Just so full of life. And so for 2 weeks, I sat to Kellen in his little office and we just talked. And you know how much he loves to talk. So we just talked about everything. We talked about how to get kids more involved in our community, what events they want. And that was one of my favorite internships because he sat and he wanted what I had. And kids, we don't get that. We don't get that in school. We don't have people wanting our ideas, picking at our brains. It's school feels more you put stuff in, and this was so refreshing because they were trying to take it out, what you know, what you learn, what you want. And so that was one of my favorite things of it. So after Citizens for Community, I moved on to SPRD, which is at the new elementary school if you didn't know. And once again, so few people making such a big impact on this community. There are 3 people that basically run SPRD and do everything, all the events, all the like park stuff, and they are the sweetest people. They would also love to talk to you if you ever want to go to an event. But that was also super fun because that was another hands-on, like, hey, we're having this event, help us do stuff, which was just this. One of my favorite things about this was that you felt wanted in this program to do stuff, to learn, and to be picked from. And that was really cool because school's a lot of sit and listen. And this was get up, help us make a difference. So that was one of my favorite things about this. And after that, I ended at the fire district, which was just as a fire district as a whole, I just thought they put out fires. So basically do everything in this community. They do smoke detectors, they do training, so much community outreach, and it's just one of the most eye-opening things was seeing so many passionate people in this community want to improve this community, want to engage with each other. And so I think I got so much more than I wanted. I wanted a government credit, and I gained so much gratitude for all these wonderful, amazing people in our community that don't need the spotlight, that don't need to be recognized. And their gratification is simply seeing us improve. So that was just so amazing. So final result was just, like I said, just making so many connections, because now I feel like so much more of a complete member of this community. Because now I know, like, if I want to make a change, I can go up to people and they will talk to me. They'll try to help me make this change. And it's not like, oh, file a request. It's like, no, I want to sit down with you and I want to work through this. So that was cool. And yeah, I just learned a lot about what shapes and influences our community, which was super, super fun. So just a few recommendations I'd have just going on was have like a set plan for the credit. That was a little bit of a struggle for us, just because meeting all the requirements that you need to get a credit, because the state, especially for government, they're like, you have to do this. And so it's really hard to get that if you're not like in the class. So that was a little hard. And then just coordinating with teachers, because like I had the most amazing advisor, Miss Spear, who's right there if you don't know her. And every day I'd come in and she'd just be like, okay, what can I do? What can I help you with? How can I support you through this? And just knowing that we have that support system, just coordinating with them more, because they'll help you as much as they can. So just having like if you need to do extra stuff to get the credit, they'll keep you on top of that and they'll help you all the way through that. So yeah, I just want to end on a big thank you for all of you guys that made this happen. All of you guys that let me sit in your office and just yap to me for hours. Yeah, I'm just really, really grateful for this opportunity you guys gave me. Does anyone have any questions?
How do we expand this program? You know, what they've done, what you and the program have done are so amazing. How do we create more opportunities for kids to do this kind of stuff?
And that might be more on, for us is, you know, with that, I think that the government was kind of difficult because of all the standards that people feel they have to meet.
Yeah.
Essentially ODE does allow a bunch of different meeting proficiencies, so we have to figure the mindset out. We have to also figure out the mindset of seat time. That's ingrained of us. That's tradition that's been here for 100 years. We have to move away from seat time. Seat time doesn't equal learning. And so what we need is more like Samara is she took a chance. Luckily, she has the skills built in with IDE. She takes on a lot of interns and she does independent studies. And so we need that kind of mindset to move forward. The second thing, which makes it a little bit difficult, is that most of our teachers have 30 students, 20 to 30 students in a class period. Luckily, we had Samara. So we're looking for grants to be able to free up teachers to do stuff like that. But, we're a little bit restricted with budgeting. Yeah. And so just doing pilot programs. I think Rima's next with maybe Andrew here with the Wolf. We have Andrew still here. So I think that they're communicating, just discussing. The details are incredibly difficult. The amount of meetings that we've had to try and figure out, and she's being nice. We still haven't figured out how to get her a complete government credit card, which we're gonna do. These Dan Cliff already said we're gonna meet whatever obligations we have. We said we're gonna do that.
So this was a good pilot, just to jump in, because our first conversation was, well, we have observed in other places, if they've connected a passion project with language arts because those standards are much easier to align,
Yep.
writing activities, some research, and you can do that and hit a 2-for-1 where you get an elective credit and a writing credit or an English credit along the way. So that was kind of our idea. Then she threw a monkey wrench, but
Right.
I'd like to get this government credit, which was good for us to, if you're gonna jump into it, right, kind of get that wake up call and do something a little harder first, and then it makes the rest of it easier. So this is a good challenge for us in looking at how we continue with that blended learning, place-based learning, kind of our mission. How do we expand those opportunities? So we learned a lot. I think she learned a lot. So it's good for both of us, and we're gonna keep moving. And it's really a lot of word of mouth, getting folks involved. Some of the work is supposed to be on the kids side, right? It's not supposed to be intense of, okay, this is what I'm really passionate about. This is what I want to do. And then we help guide and structure around it. So again, first time doing it, we all learned a lot in the process. So we're excited about expanding the program and looking at options. It's kind of like, what do we do for kids who maybe didn't want to do IE but have other passions, right? I mean, it's kind of that place-based learning model, and what can we do along the way? Connects with, we have Aspire where our kids as juniors meet with their mentors, and kind of we see that there's a continuum to connect a system for us as a school. So as a district.
Yeah, and then she's right. Amy does a lot, and in that role, we tried to write a grant that would have freed her up a little bit because we have learned from our visits with big picture learning of the importance of what would we call you, the internship coordinator?
Yeah, dedicated staff.
Yeah, we have learned because we've tried various internship programs and they just don't last, and we realize it's staff. Couple of staff taking the advisor role, which Samara played, and then the internship coordinator, which Amy will do, and then obviously having a little bit more guidance for. We were excited for her because you could tell she was a go-getter, and that's what we need, is some students that are go-getters at first that will be willing to try something, be self-motivated. It's like a runner. You can only put out the workout, they have to make it happen.
Yeah. And I would say, I think this is Amy's passion project, so we're lucky that she's been able to dedicate a little time and effort at it, to it as well. So.
Wow.
We'll see, we'll keep you informed. It'll be fun to see it
What the next
flourish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Any
you
other
very
questions?
much, and what great courage to jump out of the classroom and be a guinea pig. Very impressive. Thank
It
you.
was great showing up to community meetings and seeing her in the room, though. It was fantastic.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you so much. Yeah.
I just want to throw out there that Amalia also did much of this while she was in our school musical, and she was amazing in that as well. So.
Are we?
Thanks to you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So we have we have business finance reports next. I don't want to make people stay here if they would like to go. I don't blame you at all.
Good this time for those that. Thank you, guys. Great presentation.
Thank you all.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, everyone.
They're out of room.
Let's give them a minute. Maybe we should shut the doors.
Yeah.
You got it?
Well, Annabelle wrestled in me last year. Probably lost 14 matches in a row, and then on the very last match of her middle school career. Very good.
Oh, small print. This getting old thing is not cool.
Small print.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yes.
Thank you. Go for it, Sharon.
It's November, we have money.
Oh, look at us.
We received about 90% of our tax revenue this month, which is nice to see. It's nice to watch that number a little bit higher. And I'm estimating about 70%, 75% of our total revenue we have received. Other than that, it's nice to see the revenue growing, but I don't have anything else exciting for me.
That's plenty exciting.
Are those percentages pretty normal over the years? Does it go up and down with the economy or?
By November, have received between 90 and 93% of our tax revenue. So, and then our other major source of revenues are state school funding.
Right. But the main reason we don't see 100, pretty close to 100% is that lots of people are making
They make
payments,
don't.
February and April or whatever the months are.
We usually get a pretty good payment in June too, so that must be
That's the end of the next
Or-
school.
their deadlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Anyone
I would
have
love
any
to answer
questions?
any other questions you have, but not nearly as interesting as those kids are.
Tough act to follow. Huh?
Very.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is Joe in here?
No, but we
He's
need him.
not. He's.
That may go grab him.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. I mean, I can chat a little bit while,
Sure, yeah, we do have an action on this, so.
yeah, I know, when he gets in, so. I would just say, just give my updates. So enrollment numbers still a little down. We got a few kids back at the high school, actually new kids, not back, but some kids. So again, I think I'm more concerned also just looking at our weighted average, it's not about the total number of bodies that we're down, but as we talked, we went from, I think we were almost at 13% special education last year, we're at 11 this year, right? So there's a weighted average that goes with those students that impacts the total funding. So just keep being mindful about some of those things. Again,
I'm sorry, isn't 11 the highest threshold anyway?
No.
No, 11 is the highest, the max you get compensated for by the
Right,
state.
but that's what I meant.
The average is 13.5 across the state, right?
But we're at 11.
We were at 13%
Right.
last year.
Okay,
So with 2%, we weren't getting funded for it.
Yeah.
correct.
The state also has part of their formula, anything over 11%, they have some carve out money that they set aside. They determine how much we're gonna get. It's not gonna be
Consistent, yeah.
consistent, but
Yeah,
do we have potential to receive more than 1 or 11?
Did we have a sense as to why we've lost in those areas? Is there something that we're not?
Well, we have some students that we are in the process of ramping for special education. Some of it is move outs. I mean, I think part of it is affordability. I mean, we lost in SES, low SES, so that's affordable. We lost in our English language learners, right? So our numbers are down there and we're down in SPED. So not all connected to socioeconomic, but many crossed over into that, and it's difficult to live in Sisters because of affordability. So I think that's part of it. Not all of it, but part of it. And so we're continuing to watch that. We are actively engaged in some outreach right now. Just people who are choosing other things. Why are they choosing it? We're having our principals at the building level connect with families, look at what we can do. We're going to have some place-based meetings in January to have dialogue. Right, we're looking at some of our vendors, how do we expand opportunities like this, connected with other options that families might think are interested, and how does it impact our funding source and our staffing model? What does that look like? So again, a lot of stuff that we're investigating as we keep moving forward. So not a through line, but affordability is the biggest one. Yeah. Update on district assets and where we are. Continue to move forward with rezoning plans and partitioning. And that work is slow, but moving forward. I am concerned as we continue to look at the opportunity of maybe moving to the Coalfield Center. Construction costs are still really high. So, once we get the plans done and start that process, before we start the permitting process, I think we're about done with some of the plans and looking at what we would like and have created a kind of phase 1, 2, 3 of that operation. We're asking for some informal bidding processes so we can get an understanding if it's even feasible. I mean, some people are talking $400 a square foot for a remodel, right? That's a sizable, if you're talking the Coalfield Center is 10,000, but if you just focused on 3,000 square feet, that's $1.2 million. We're not ready to encumber that kind of expense at this point, right? I know that working with Jen, I think they spent about $300,000 remodeling. So I think depending on where it comes in, that might be a more doable picture for us. So just more to come for the board, but just making you aware where those things are, where we are in the process. Still very happy with what we got for the bond that got us to do elementary school. I just wish we had a little money left to do some of the other projects we were hoping to do. But more to come on that, but those are all in process. One we'll be talking about later as an action item. So moving forward with those. Attended the law conference. Again, just update. I think I mentioned the impact of HR1, the changes to Medicare, Medicaid funding. So that's just another thing to keep in mind as we're moving forward. Really not going to have a lot until the February forecast to really solidify what we're looking at as the budget moving forward. So just want to make sure that's out there. And we've talked about it before. And then it was a really interesting presentations on anything from ICE to the political where we are politically and lawsuits and not lawsuits against the federal government for services and not services. So a lot of impact. One of the studies right now in the state is going back to even our ELL population is that they're seeing a very high absenteeism rate in our Latino community across the state right now. And it was really interesting. There was a lot of, in one of the sessions, out of 100 folks, when they asked if they had interaction with ICE on school campuses, about half of the people raised their hands, right? So we haven't experienced that, not that we won't, but on our campus, we haven't. We know that there's been some activity in Central Oregon. So again, not a through line of one thing, probably several things that are causing some of the issues. So just stuff that we're fighting for, looking how we support our kids in our community and where we're moving forward. So it was a good conference to attend, some good information. I'll leave it there after all the kid stuff for any questions. That's probably enough. What a heavy thing to end on after your presentation.
Chairman.
Yes.
I have a comment and a quick question, but I think it's related to this agenda item. At that moment, if I could enter, usually.
Sure, if you just go for it.
Basically, I read yesterday and again this morning in the news feeds that there have been bipartisan support for our senators' effort to school and safety established. And that's extended through, excuse me, 2086 and backfills 2025 and 2024. So at this point, Kurt Sherry may be way ahead of all of that about that. But I just saw those hit the news feeds this morning. And basically, I don't know if you guys have any info on that. And if you do, I mean, is there any positive impacts to us about that?
We don't actually, the qualifications to get rural school funding, we actually don't get it. So it doesn't have has a net zero impact on actually when asked you that very question earlier today. So at this point, we don't anticipate that being an impact for us.
At one point we did.
Yeah, not currently. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you have any other updates or is that we're good? Anyone have any questions for Kurt? I guess we'll jump back to Joe.
Yep.
So this is similar to when it's a kind of an odd thing. But it's similar to, I was trying to mention it, when you approve board policy, I'm here to get the student investment account grant approved. And what I've provided for you is similar to what I provided to you in May. I gave you the grant and then the budget, and this is the updated budget. And then I think that you either have a link or the actual grant in front of you or accessible to you. It's 15 pages, that's why I didn't print it out. But what's actually on the grant is this. Everything else is legal jargon. Our application and how we're using the funds is different than the grant agreement. And so I'm here today to ask for to approve the SIA grant agreement. Simple enough.
Yeah.
Simple enough. He has to present it to us.
Yeah.
I move that we approve it.
All in favor of approving the grant presented by Joe?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, we're on to board business. So I have a couple of motions here that I'd like to read. So the first one. Motion to declare the Cloverdale property located at 68797 George Cyrus Road in Sisters as surplus property under District Policy DN. One at a time, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, one before the other.
This is Little Cloverdale School.
Yep.
That is really not of any use to us in the future. It's served a lot of purposes over a lot of years, and but we really don't have any reason to keep it. So I move that we approve this.
Second. So I would add in the discussion just to revamp some of the dialogue. So was that a motion in a second? I want to make sure we're following.
Yeah, you said second, but I'll second it.
Well, I thought you were motioning and Jeff was seconding.
Oh, you're right.
I
He
thought
moved,
that's-
yeah, I made the motion.
Okay, I second it.
There you go, correct.
That's what I
For
was trying to
discussion.
Yes,
affirm that now the discussion, and I just would remind the board, right, it doesn't have a well on the property. There's some concerns about the structure on it itself, right? And we have someone who's long-term, there would be speaking of an investment about, so you can try to move to the Coalfield Center. We really don't have capital reserves right now to look at those efforts. And so I think with the concerns on the property, it makes a lot of sense that we're moving in the direction we are.
does anyone have anything they would like to add?
I have fond memories of that place. My granddaughter went to preschool out there, and
to be clear,
it was extraordinary.
we've worked with our partners through Heart of Oregon. They're actually building their own building in Redmond. And so they will not need to. We have an agreement that will be honored as we move forward about them using that property through this school year, but then they'll be vacating it and there won't be anybody in.
On the record, I think the value of that property is no longer there for the district. It is more of a liability, I believe, at this point, based on the information that I've received and the capital expenditures that it would require. We are in the business of providing education to the students. As the piece of property, it seems to be a bit of a distraction for us. So I think we should consider all options of it to it.
So we need a motion to approve it then. Do you want to make the motion to approve it?
Well, you made the motion, he seconded, so now you just need to vote.
Okay, so
I move that we where to go? I move that we approve the declaration of the Cloverdale property as surplus.
perfect. All in favor?
I need someone to second that motion.
Oh, second.
I'll second that. I thought I did before, but what do I know?
I figured.
Then
We have to do that twice. Okay.
Well, so the next is so again, I think.
Did we vote?
I don't think we have.
Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
so
Thank you all.
Thank you.
just for
Sorry.
clarity, I think in the next round, we can make a motion, have dialogue and then vote. We don't need to redo the motion.
I didn't think so. That's why I was confused.
So again, just to give context, we do have someone that is interested in that property and are looking to develop it. It is, you know, where it is. And so, I think we have, looked at a good, transaction to help benefit us and not have us invest resources into improving the property. And so I would go ahead and leave the motion to Asa, but just background, we do have someone interested in the property, that I think is, well, I don't want to say a gift, but it's a positive for the district to be able to unhook from that property.
So I'm making a motion to delegate authority to the board chair and the superintendent to finalize negotiations with and through legal counsel and to execute the transfer of Cloverdale property for $150,000, subject to conditions that the buyer and Heart of Oregon agree in writing to HOC's continued use of the property through July 31st, 2026. Under mutually agreeable terms.
I'll second that motion.
And I can tell you that I've had those conversations with all of the folks involved, and I don't believe there's any conflict at this point. So it really would be around getting those agreements done. Asa as the rep for the district signing along with the heads of those other agencies as well.
Do we need further would anyone else like to discuss? I think Eric pretty much hits on everything there. It's okay, can we go ahead and vote? Great, all in favor? Aye. Perfect.
Like I said, it's been a 5-year venture for me.
I bet.
Let's put a bill on that, please.
Yeah.
Okay, consent agenda. Regular, go ahead.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I might add I go through it with a fine tooth old professor's comb to find errors in the spelling or punctuation or text, and I'm striking out.
It's again, another round of applause.
We're gonna start planting some just to see.
Seeing if I'm paying attention, huh?
Keep you on your toes. All right, so for announcements, January 7th, we have a regular board meeting at 5:30. And that's 26 for the record. There's one, I found one for you. The wrong date, wrong year. And then January 7th, 2026, board work session to follow for the superintendent evaluation. With that said, it's what does that say? 6:46. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.